Hey, hey, hey. Time for another Out of This World story from rSpace. When the truth matters, having solid proof can be the difference between clearing your name and getting dragged through the mud. Today on rSpace, a wild story about what happens when someone's temper goes nuclear after their lies start catching up with them. Cheating wife falsely accused me of assault. I brought out the evidence and got her arrested. I've always heard stories about how wives can turn into totally different people once they're caught cheating, and how you can't trust anyone. And I always thought it couldn't be me. You can probably guess that it eventually was me, and that's why I'm here to share my own experience. My 29 male wife, 28 female, wasn't always an angel, but I thought I knew her better than anyone. She has a bit of a temper, and she says things she doesn't mean in the heat of the moment, but I always made sure to hold her to what she said, and she'd apologize for it. It was a thing we'd been working on slowly through the marriage, and I thought we were making progress with it. We'd been married for years, and things had been going good for us. There was the temper I mentioned, but that really wasn't as bad as it sounded. Like I said, she'd just say some things she'd regret later, but she never did anything stupid. And now we get to her affair. I never saw it coming. I doubt there were any signs, but if there were, I missed them. I found out when I was looking for a picture on her phone. I came across a photo of her and another guy in bed together, smiling. I was so shocked that I didn't even recognize it as my wife at first. I knew it was her, but that didn't make any sense. So my mind just assumed it was another woman who looked like her. Once I had a few seconds to come to my senses, I acknowledged what I was looking at. It was proof of my wife being intimate with another man. I wondered why she hadn't deleted the photo from her phone. She should have known there was a chance I would find it. My best guess was that she simply missed this one when she was deleting a bunch of pictures. I tried to find others, but came up empty. One photo was enough to convince me that she was having an affair, but it wouldn't give me the whole picture. I wanted to know who this guy was and how long she'd been cheating. I was going to give her a piece of my mind, and I wanted all of the facts first. I went looking for text messages between them, but I couldn't find anything on her messaging apps. After a while, I realized that she wouldn't text him in such an obvious place. My wife and I go through each other's phones freely. I thought it was because we had nothing to hide, but now I realized that she was just hiding the evidence. I checked her social media accounts and looked through her DMs. That was where I found what I was looking for. There were weeks of texts. She hadn't been talking to this guy for very long, but they'd been moving fast. From what I could tell, they'd only managed to meet up a couple of times in person, but they'd been intimate each time. That didn't make it any better. Even one time was too much for me to forgive. Besides, they'd still been pretty busy even when they were apart. They sexted multiple times a week and sent each other nudes and other suggestive photos. Seeing my wife sharing those kinds of pictures with someone else made me sick. The whole thing hurt me in a way I've never really been hurt before. I took screenshots of everything and sent them all to myself. I wasn't sure what to do at first. It took a while for me to come to terms with the fact that my marriage was over. From what I'd seen, the affair hadn't been going on for too long, but that didn't make much of a difference. If I confronted her about it and forgave her, she'd just do the same thing again one day. I wasn't going to take a chance on that. Besides, I wasn't in a forgiving mood. I took some time to figure out my next move, and I didn't let my wife know that I'd found out about her secret. We went about our days as usual, and I tried to act like everything was still fine. I'm not a great actor, and she could tell something was off, but she couldn't figure out what. I couldn't keep some of the bitterness out of my voice when I spoke to her sometimes, and she was always asking if I was mad at her. I'd just tell her I needed a nap, and she'd nod like that made sense. I wasn't touching her anymore, and I didn't initiate anything in the bedroom. She didn't seem to notice. Maybe she did, and she just didn't care. She was getting it somewhere else after all. After a few days, I stopped delaying the inevitable and went to talk to a lawyer. I'd made up my mind about leaving her, and I was tired of pretending everything was fine. After getting everything in order with my lawyer, I started making preparations to get out of the house. I wasn't going to wait until she had the papers before I split up with her. Once I had everything in order, I got ready to tell her that I was leaving her. I knew that was going to be hard, and I wasn't looking forward to it, but I never expected the complete disaster that it turned out to be. I'd originally planned to do everything as cold as possible. I didn't want to get my emotions involved because it wouldn't help me out in any way. The idea was to get in there, tell her I know about the affair, and then let her know that I was leaving. I didn't want to ask her why she'd done it or demand that she explained herself. None of that mattered to me anymore. I didn't think her temper would be a factor in this because I thought she'd be guilty, not mad. I was very wrong. When I told her I was leaving her, she blew up immediately. She said she could tell because of the way I'd been acting recently, and she asked if there was someone else. I was annoyed that she was trying to make it seem like it was my fault that we were breaking up, but I didn't let her get to me. That was when I told her that I'd seen the photos on her phone and I'd found her messages. I knew about her affair, and it meant our marriage was over. She threw a whole lot of insults at me after that. She said I was insecure for checking her phone, and then the next thing she said was that a real man would have fought for his wife if he found out someone was trying to take her. I didn't take her bait. That was so stupid that I was pretty sure she didn't believe it herself. I remained calm and reminded her that another man wasn't trying to take her. She was giving herself away. I wasn't going to fight him over a woman who didn't have enough self-respect to keep her from sleeping around. Looking back, that wasn't a great thing to say if I was trying to keep things from getting emotional, though I don't regret it. She completely lost it. She started throwing things and screaming. She said I was ruining our marriage and that I was going to regret it. I knew she had a temper, so I wasn't surprised that she was having a meltdown, but I'd never seen her like this. She'd never screamed this loud or thrown things before. She threw a lamp across the room and smashed a picture frame, along with some other stuff. I won't lie, I got scared. I wasn't scared that she could hurt me. I'm bigger than her and I could easily subdue her if she got physical. But I was worried about what would happen if she got hurt in the process. I've seen how people react to men who defend themselves from women. I immediately acted to remove myself from the situation. I didn't say a word, I just pulled out my phone and turned on the camera. I tried not to make it obvious that I was recording because I thought that would just get her even more riled up. I just wanted to document the fact that she was the one trashing the apartment. I walked away from her and locked myself in the bedroom. She started hammering on the bedroom door, calling me a coward for not being able to face her. I kept the camera running the whole time, catching every word she said. I spoke into the phone, documenting what had happened earlier. How I'd told her I wanted a divorce because I'd discovered her affair, and how she had responded. I wasn't sure if I would actually need this video, but I wanted to be safe. Besides, my lawyer had told me to document everything important, and this felt pretty dang important. While she was pounding on the door, she said that I couldn't leave her, and that she'd make me regret if I tried. She said she'd tell everyone that I cheated on her and hit her. I felt my stomach drop. She seemed angry enough to do it, and accusations like that could ruin my life. I'd remained quiet through her meltdown because I didn't want to provoke her, but I felt like I had to say something there. I wanted to make it clear on the recording that I had never done any of those things she was accusing me of. So I asked her if she was planning to lie to everyone. She laughed and said they'd believe whatever she told them. She paused for a moment and added that the police wouldn't doubt her for a moment if she showed up with bruises. I asked if she was implying that she would hurt herself and blame me. She just said she was ready to do whatever it took to keep us together, unlike me. My hands were actually shaking at that point. Part of it was from the adrenaline of the whole situation, but I was also genuinely afraid. She was completely unhinged, and it seemed like she was capable of anything at that point. I decided I wasn't going to leave the room until she left or completely calmed down. She kept screaming and swearing for a while, but eventually she ran out of steam. Soon, she left the door alone and went silent. A few minutes later, I heard the front door slam. I waited for a few more minutes, trying to listen for any sign of her. When I was confident she wasn't at home anymore, I opened the door, packed my things, and left. I haven't been back home since then, and I don't plan to return. She's called me dozens of times and texted me asking me to come home so we could work things out. I've been ignoring her completely. I only texted her once to let her know that I was alive and well and that I'd just moved out. As far as I know, she hasn't acted on her threat to tell people I was cheating, but I'm still worried. I've talked to my lawyer and provided him with the video. He was glad that I'd thought to record everything. He said I might have saved my future if she really did move forward with her threat. I hadn't just caught her in the middle of a violent physical and verbal outburst, but I'd also caught her admitting to potentially making up claims to get me in trouble. I'm tired of living with the threat of her attempting to ruin my life just because I found out about her affair. It feels like a weight hanging over my head, ready to drop. Maybe it was just an empty threat she made in the heat of the moment. What I know is that it won't stop me from getting the divorce. Throwing lamps and breaking stuff is a classic I've lost control move. Good call locking yourself away and recording it. Nowadays, having proof can save you from a lot of nonsense, especially when things get ugly. The "real man would fight for me" line? What a joke. Update. In my original post, I talked about how my wife threatened to falsely accuse me of assault if I didn't call off the divorce. It turned out that documenting everything could have actually saved my skin. A lot of you guys assured me that she wouldn't actually go through with it. I felt certain that she wouldn't do it, too. I knew she had a hot temper, and I thought it was just a heat of the moment thing. My thinking was that she'd forget about that once she had a chance to cool down. Unfortunately, it didn't go that way. It happened the day after she'd been served the divorce papers. I got a call from an unknown number. I didn't answer it at first, but when they called 2 more times, I picked up the phone. It was a police officer asking if I could come down to the station to speak with them. He said I was involved in a domestic disturbance and my statement was needed. I asked if I was under arrest. He said I wasn't, but it would be in my best interest to come voluntarily. I took the hint, but I told him I would be coming with my lawyer. We set an appointment for the next morning. I spoke to my lawyer immediately after the call. He wasn't surprised. He told me he'd seen this before, but I had a stronger defense than most. As long as I stayed calm and let the facts speak for themselves, I had nothing to worry about. Still, I found it hard to sleep that night. Just knowing what I'd been accused of and thinking about who she might have spread her lies to was enough to make me feel sick. We went to the station the next morning. We met with 2 officers who explained that my wife had filed a report. She claimed that I'd assaulted her during an argument and pushed her into a wall, causing bruising on her arm and side. I felt a chill run down my back. They were describing everything like it was a real event that had actually happened. It didn't sound like they were trying to verify her story. It sounded more like they were just telling me what she said as a formality before they arrested me. I was glad to have my lawyer there to speak for me, because I don't think I could have done it without getting angry. My lawyer told the officers that he had something he wanted them to watch before we started. He handed them a USB drive containing a copy of my recording. The officers left the room for a few minutes to watch it. When they came back, their attitudes had changed completely. They were less aggressive and asked when I'd taken the video. They asked some more questions, but it mostly seemed like they were trying to get an accurate timeline based on the new information they had. I answered all of their questions honestly and didn't volunteer any more information than they asked for. When they were done, the officers thanked me for my cooperation and said they would get in touch with me. They said they didn't have any cause to arrest me at the moment and would be continuing their investigation by questioning my wife further. They advised me not to leave town, and my lawyer assured them that I wouldn't. My lawyer also told them that he'd forward all of the information I'd given them regarding the incident. It seemed like I was in the clear, but I still couldn't let myself feel relieved. I realized just how close I'd come to having my life ruined over something I didn't do. Those cops had spoken to me like they were convinced of my guilt, until I showed them my proof. I shuddered whenever I thought of what could happen if I hadn't recorded what she said. Chances are, I wouldn't have walked out of the police station that day. I was enraged that my wife would even try something like that. I wanted to give her a piece of my mind. I tried the non-emotional approach, and I'd ended up being accused of hitting her. I wanted to show her what I could really get like when I was mad, but I didn't. I knew that was a stupid idea. The cops were leaning toward believing me, but if I knocked down her door and started screaming at her, they might be inclined to take her side. As hard as it was, I completely ignored her and didn't say a word about any of this to her. As luck would have it, karma came for her without my help. About a week after our appointment at the police station, my lawyer called me to let me know that the police were dropping the investigation. They decided I was completely innocent. Even better, they talked to my wife again, and once they applied some pressure, she confessed that she'd made the whole thing up. She was being charged with making a false police report. My lawyer told me that she'd probably end up paying a fine, and depending on how seriously the police took the issue, she might end up spending a few months in jail. I wasn't happy to see her life falling apart like that, but I couldn't spare a moment feeling sorry for her either. She'd nearly ruined my life. This just felt fair to me. To be honest, I probably took more than a little satisfaction in hearing that news. I found out just how far my wife had taken her little campaign of revenge when I got another call. This time, it was from a mutual friend, someone we'd both known for years. She said my wife had told her that I attacked her in a rage when she told me she wanted a divorce. But now she was hearing that she'd been arrested for making a false report, so she wasn't sure what to believe. I was happy to clear things up for her. I told her every single detail, from the infidelity to her meltdown, then the call from the police and her eventual arrest. She was convinced and apologized for ever believing my wife's side of things. There were a few more calls after that, and they mostly went the same way. I explained how things had really gone down, and they offered their support. Soon the true version of events started spreading, and the narrative had flipped completely. The divorce hasn't been made official yet, but I'm not worried. She's got much more serious legal problems to face. so she hasn't been giving me too much trouble. Her lawyer even spoke to mine about the possibility of settling everything out of court. Our theory is that she doesn't want to spend extra time and energy in court for the divorce when she still has to deal with her false report case. I might go along with it if the deal works out to be sweet for me. If not, she can meet me in court. I'm not going to give her the easy way out, not after what she tried to do to me. My soon-to-be ex-wife has been released on bail, and she tried to talk to me a few times. I didn't need my lawyer to advise me not to speak to her. I've decided I don't even want to see her at all anymore. So I've gone full no contact with her. Her numbers and social media are all blocked. I don't answer calls from her family anymore, and I've warned mutual friends not to try and pass messages from her. 2 of them still tried anyway, and I blocked them. I'm starting a new chapter in my life, and I'm taking my peace very seriously. She tried to get me arrested because I stood up for myself after she cheated, and now she was facing the music. I'm not gonna lie, it sounds pretty sweet to me. You were smart to keep your cool and let the evidence do the talking, OP. Honestly, without that recording, you could have been looking at a nightmare situation. It's crazy how quickly people want to believe the worst without checking facts. The way the police changed their tune after watching your video? Bravo. Blocking her and going full no contact is the right move. You don't need that kind of toxic energy dragging you down anymore. Thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. See you next time.